Hello everyone, this is Camille with Mimi Journals, and today I am going to be talking to you guys about one of my new favorite tools for documenting. So as you guys know, if you have been on the channel for a little while, that my channel is almost exclusively about like journaling and documenting of any kind, but that for me includes photography, and it also includes like artistic expressions like drawing and stuff like that. But it is my birthday coming up, and so as a birthday treat, I decided to get into Instax, the instant Polaroid photography, and so I got myself this adorable, inexpensive little camera, and I cannot explain to you how much fun this is. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the camera itself, and then I'm going to talk to you about the first time that I used it, which was earlier today. So this camera, the reason I didn't get into Instax as the camera itself, I have one of the little printers, but I didn't get into like shooting it with the camera, if that makes sense, was because I didn't like the design of the standard Instax minis. They kind of look like pastel, like bubbles. And just for some reason, I just really did not enjoy that at all. So there was like a big hype for it for a long time, and I just never like jumped on that bandwagon. And then recently I had seen some other photographers that I like on YouTube talk about their experience like using both disposable cameras and like Polaroid cameras, and I was just like, okay, that looks like way too much fun. And like I found out that there's styles that I actually like because I love the like vintage camera look, and so I'm like, okay, I'm on board. So I got this guy. He is $99 retail, at least he is. Yeah, he is on Amazon, and he was on the store that I bought it at, which was Glazer's in Seattle. And the way it works is basically it's very, very simple. You load it up with the standard Instax like little cartridges in the back here. It is battery powered, so here on this side there's two AA batteries. It has its own light meter right here. You press this button to turn it on. It looks like that. And then it has the standard mode, which is 0.3 meters to infinity, and it also has a selfie mode when you push the lens out, which allows you to take selfies. It has a mirror here so you can see that you're like aligning yourself correctly. Past that, there is really no settings for you to worry about. This light meter will dictate whether or not the flash goes off. And so far, in my experience, I was walking around on a super, super sunny day and it always went off. So I'm not sure how good this light meter is. I'm actually considering finding a way to cover this flash, like have a temporary cover so that I can take it on and off, but I digress. And then the photos just come out the top. So I love taking pictures of my friends, which you guys have definitely seen on like a lot of my flip through videos and stuff like that, of my journals. And then I'm also super passionate about street photography. So since it was my first time using this camera and I really wanted to like test it in the field sort of situation, I wanted to see how people reacted to it, how comfortable people were around it, and then how easily I could do it and just like figure it out. Even though it's a very, very simple camera, you know, I just like, you still have to be smart about composition and like all just how far away you are from your subject and just the standard like photography stuff. So also it is a 60mm lens. I don't think I said that before. But I will say, I was at the Pike Place Market in Seattle, and I shot 2 cartridges worth, so that's 20 shots, and it was one of the most fun things I have done as a photographer. Like, I have a lot of positive stories about being a photographer. I've been doing it for 10 years and I love it, and you can tell because I'm like a total gearhead and I have a million photos, but it was extremely fun. And I think the reason for that is because I'm going to start showing you the pictures. One of the reasons why it's so fun is, one, you're getting your pictures instantly. So that's just a totally different experience. The other is like people like it, like people respond to it, people notice it, and people want to interact with you because of it. And so there's a lot more engagement with it. And there's a lot less, I don't know if paranoia is the right word, but like, you know, people don't really, not everyone likes their picture taken. Like, you get every reaction when you're a photographer, especially a street photographer. There's people who are afraid of the camera, there's people who don't care, there's people who are like, that's awesome. You know, you just get every possible reaction. You get plenty of indifference and then plenty of positive and negative. Whereas this camera, I feel like it attracted a lot more positivity than any other camera I've walked on the street with, which was really exciting for me because my favorite form of photography is taking pictures of people. So any camera that like makes people feel more comfortable or is just less intimidating or like people respond well to for any reason is like such a huge bonus for me, because that is the type of engagement that I want. I am not a landscape photographer. I'm not really like I'm a people photographer through and through. So some of these pictures are stuff that isn't people, but for the most part, I was trying to get people. So there's 20 shots here, and just having a physical copy is like so fun. I can't even. So this first one, I definitely messed up because it was my very first one. I didn't know what I was doing. But what happened was I wanted the focus to be somewhere around here, and I don't really even remember what I did wrong, but somehow it basically looked like it was doing selfie mode, even though I don't think that I actually pulled the lens out all the way, and it focused right here on those very front flowers, and then everything else was out of focus. So it ended up kind of making it look a little bit weird. Sorry, there's a glare, but I just want to make sure you guys have like plenty of light so you can really see the details of the photo. So these photos are like the most nostalgic, just like wonderful keepsakes. They are not for people who like very like mechanically fine detailed, super sharp photos. They're not, this one was like a genuine mistake. So it's not like they're all this blurry, but it definitely has that old 90s Polaroid feel. There's no doubt about that. Which I personally love, but it's not for everybody. This picture is the second picture. I tried to put these in order as best as I could remember, just because it's easier to tell the story that way. So we walked up and down Pike Place a couple of times. When I first did the first like round, I was with my little sister and her friend, and so I was like, oh, I'd love to take a picture of you guys. So we made sure to line it up with the classic, public market sign, and this turned out so stinking cute. It is pretty soft. And it was a very sunny day. It was like partially cloudy, but it was pretty bright outside. And even though it was so bright outside, the flash still went off. There was not a single time in which the flash didn't go off. So it is possible that I just don't know what I'm doing, and there's like some way to make that not happen. So I will fully acknowledge that, but it seems like it just always thinks that it's not light enough. So I'm gonna have to play with that a little bit. But anyways, this photo still turned out extremely adorable, and I love it. Next one, at Pike Place Market, they have the area with all the fish, and they throw fish, and there was a guy who was like, hey, like, can you throw me my fish? So normally it's the people who work there that do the tossing, but this guy wanted to try it, and so I was able to snap a picture of that, which was pretty cool. My only thing is like literally right when I pressed the button, this person like moved in front of me. So I was worried that I wouldn't see anything but that person's back, but luckily it still captured most of what I was trying to get. I was a little bit bummed though that like somebody's shoulder got in the way, but that is totally okay. I will say using this camera, it is slow. Like it's not super slow, but it definitely like has a little bit of a lag time. And that was something that I didn't realize. Like I didn't really realize how much of a lag time it was, and you just kind of have to get a feel for it. So when your subject is still, or when there's not like a massive crowd in a public market, like you're gonna be fine. Like this picture of my little sister, we were waiting in line at the coffee shop, and obviously she was standing still, so there was zero issue. But there's other photos coming up where I was the one who made the error. It wasn't like the other people were moving around or anything like that. It was literally just me not realizing how much of a lag time the photo or the camera had. This photo, these guys were like filleting, I think is the right word, fish, and this guy had some pretty cool tattoos. So I wasn't able to get super close. It would have been a better photo had I been able to get closer, especially because I would have been able to avoid that wall, and that wall absorbed a lot of the flash, and that's why this part is even more dark, and then this is just like stark white, is because flash went off and the white wall just like, bounced it back. But I still like it. It's still very like nostalgic. It's still very like in the moment, and that's the whole point. Once we got into the coffee shop, I was able to snap a photo of the guy while he was making my coffee, and this is a classic example of how I was messing up almost all day and I just didn't realize like how much time I needed to give the camera. So if you can tell, there's a lot of ghosting that's going on here. So his hands go here and here, but then if you look back right here, you see a ghost of the cup and you see a ghost of his hand up here. That was totally my error. He really wasn't moving that much, but what I did is I snapped the photo, and as soon as the flash went off, I like moved the camera like up, you know, because that's like in other cameras that doesn't matter. Like as soon as the shutter goes off, like you're done. But obviously with this camera, I have to be more careful. I think the shutter speed is 1/120th of a second. So for those photographers out there, I am not used to shooting that slow. I mean, I shoot primarily digitally, so I'm used to shooting much faster. This one is one of the classic pictures of how I wish I was able to make it not flash, because he's outside, there's tons of sun, and it's still flashed, and so you can barely see his face. I don't think like on camera with you guys looking at it, you can even see it. There's like kind of vague outlines of his glasses and like a little bit of his nose, but for the most part, he just looks like completely bleached out, which is unfortunate. But you know, this was like literally my first time using the camera, so I'm not going to beat myself up over it. I just, you know, you live and you learn. But it's still like a cool looking photo, to be honest, at least to me. This is another one in which you see a lot of ghosting, because I made the exact same mistake multiple times that day. These two guys were walking around with some very cool vintage style cameras. I'm pretty sure they were film cameras, but I honestly don't know for sure if I recognize the cameras, but I don't know if there's a digital equivalent or not, so I'm not going to promise that they're film, but they are waist level viewfinders, and they're called like Mia or something. I don't know. Like, I recognize the brand. They're badass, and I love them, so I just like I tap them, and I'm like, hey, like, sorry to bother you, but can I take your picture? Because like your cameras are awesome. And they're like, yeah, no problem. So, you know, usually photographers are like pretty understanding about other photographers. So that was fun. But like I said, like, because I moved the camera so fast after the flash went off, you can see ghosting of his arm, and then you can see like ghosting like around his head. So it kind of did like a weird thing, but it's still such a cool memory. It's so much easier to approach people with this camera, because you're like, yeah, like you just kind of have an excuse. Basically, you're like, I'm getting into Polaroid and I'm just like really excited about it. It's like this new vintage thing for me, and you can just kind of like tell them like a very real, like genuine spiel of like what you're doing, and it's not nearly as intimidating, especially because they watch the thing like out of the camera, and you're like, yep, here's the picture. And like, and I even tell them, like, if I ask them for their photo, I'm like, it's gonna take a minute to develop, but if you would like to see it, like, you know, we can totally just wait a second. And I also tell them, like, I can scan it and I can send it to you. So if you want to like hit me up on Instagram or something, like, I can 100% send you a copy of this photo. And so that also really helps, because they get to like, they get that opportunity to see it in person, interact with a physical copy. And then also they're like, you know, I offer to like make that effort to make sure that they have their own copy as well. So this woman was like carting around her dog, and I just thought it was funny and cute. And so I walked up to her and I'm like, oh, you know, can I take a picture of your dog? And she didn't care at all. And it was pretty adorable. Pike Place Market is like known for its bouquets. Like there's just like stand upon stand of like flower bouquet makers. So obviously I snapped a picture of that, because that's just like classic Pike Place Market. It actually turned out pretty good. This is another case of being outside in direct sunlight with tons of light already, and then it's still flashed. So as you can tell, I'm a little bit annoyed with that, but again, so you can't really see his face, but he was like singing some kind of like Irish, not jig, but like Irish myth song, something. I don't know, it was kind of interesting. It was cool, and he was like very understanding about me taking his picture, which most street artists are, but that was still fun. This guy was great. I just saw him and I'm like, that guy looks cool. I'm gonna go talk to him. So it turns out he was from Dallas, Texas. He's a grandpa, and he was just in town for a vacation, visiting his nieces and nephews who are right outside the frame. One of them, you can see her like peeking over. But they were like picking out clothes and stuff. But anyways, I just had such a fun time talking to this guy. Super sweet, super nice, didn't care at all that I took his photo. And I was like, yeah, if you want, like, we can wait a second and you can see it and you like can see what I did and stuff. And he's like, yeah, sure. So we just like talked for a little while, but then his family wanted to get going, so he didn't actually get to see the full end result. These do take about, I'd say like 10 to 15 minutes to fully develop. Like, you see them developing after like maybe 30 seconds, but it takes like a hot minute for them to like really be finished. So I showed him like, oh, you know, it's working on it, like, and he could see it maybe like halfway done or whatever before he walked away. But that was just super fun. It's so fun to have an excuse to just talk to people. I don't know, that's just my personality, I guess, but because I had such a positive experience with him, I immediately followed it by just like the next cool person that I saw, which there's cool people everywhere. So, but I loved her hair. I thought she was adorable. So I just walked up to her. She was at like a, vegan soap stand or whatever. And I was like, hey, you know, that's one tip for street photography. If you want to just get straight up portraits of people like this, is to just be honest about what it was that drew you to them. Because usually it's like you like their hair, or you like their style, or you think that they like look cool in some way. Like, there's always like something that drew you to that person. And so just complimenting them and being like a genuine compliment that is like true to why you were drawn to them is a really easy way to get somebody's photo. Like, at least in my experience, like that. Obviously you will always experience rejection in photography, well, street photography, but like the vast majority of people that I do that to respond very positively. But yeah, so I just told her, I'm like, your hair and like is adorable and it looks so good, like with your jacket, like, do you mind if I take your picture? And she's like, yeah, that's awesome. Like, and she's like, I saw you walking around with that camera and I thought it was so cool. So we just started like bonding and like talking over it, and it was fun. It was so much fun. So this picture turned out adorable, and she wants me to send her a copy. So I connected with her over Instagram, and it was just like, it was great. And so very positive experiences on both of those ends, just like back to back. This one was kind of like quickie in both, like, I accidentally moved the camera too fast, but also just like I just saw a moment and I'm like, that's really cute and I want to capture it. These three, when I first took the picture, which obviously I was too slow, and then I was too fast, but what originally attracted me to this was these three were helping the same like 3 or 4 people, like the same family, and they were all like laughing and smiling together, and they were all in a line, so you could like see them kind of going down the frame. And I just really like that. I like capturing moments, and so I tried to get it, and I just kind of missed it a little bit, but it still like looks cool. I mean, Polaroids, I'm sorry, they just have such like a vibe to them, you know what I mean? And like, it is just a freaking blast. And this one, kind of a similar situation. These two were helping a bunch of people over here, and I liked kind of their facial expressions and just kind of like how animated they were. And so, oh, I'm trying not to sneeze. And so I snapped a picture. So I'm learning that, you know, this was my first like photo shoot, so I'm learning that it likes to focus closer. So the sharpness you're gonna really get closer and towards the bottom of the frame, and then it starts to get softer further away in the frame, which is good to know, and I'm just gonna have to figure out like what to do about that. A possibility is that when I'm shooting, I just have to angle it up more so that the bottom, the closer / bottom of the frame is more them than whatever is in the foreground, if that makes sense. But you know, I still have a learning curve, obviously. Pike Place Market has a lot of really pretty neon signs, and I just wanted to see how the Polaroid camera would react to the light and the neon, and it does okay. I wouldn't say that it's great. To be honest, it's kind of mediocre. These were like pretty bright blue, and it's very faded. And then same here, this was like very, very red and very pink, and it's pretty faded. So I'm not a huge fan of how much it fades the colors, but maybe if I figure out how to cover the flash, it will it will not fade like that. So we'll see. We'll see what happens next time. The flash, this is the fish part, and I was trying to get, you can't really see it in the picture, but there's like a guy back there, and I was trying to get the picture to be primarily about him, but the flash reflected far too much off of the ice, and it just totally blew out the whole picture. So that one's definitely kind of a flop, but it happens. This one was just like an interesting display. There's these weird metal turkeys, something like that, chickens, but it just looked cool in person, and honestly, even though you can't really tell what's going on, it still looks cool in the picture. Barbecue meat in here and stuff, as you know, for what the sign says. Made the same mistake the whole time, so you can see ghosting because I moved the camera way too fast. The dog was actually pretty still, so it definitely was not the dog's fault. But it's still just kind of fun. And then I went into this shop that had a lot of like herbs and like incense and all that kind of stuff, and they had these gorgeous jars in the back that were like those old vintage, like gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? They're not clear, they're like that warm brown yellow colored glass. I don't know, they have a very specific, very old look to them that was super cool, and so I wanted to see how much of that would get captured on the Polaroid, and the answer is not much, but it's still like a neat like environment, so I'm not upset. It's still a cool picture. But yeah, I took 20 photos, right? So that's 2 cartridges. I walked up to multiple people. I also had multiple people just kind of have a positive reaction, even people I didn't walk up to, people just very interested in the camera itself. Not necessarily a ton of conversation outside of the people I walked up to, but like I would see people smiling at me. I would see people like, oh, that's cool kind of thing. Or I'd like hear them talking about it as they are walking past me and stuff like that. So a lot of very positive like reinforcement, which is super encouraging because it makes me want to go out and do it again. I love street photography with my whole heart, and so it's really fun to have a camera that gets me even more excited about something I'm already so passionate about. For a point of reference, the standard pack that you would get, which is just like the white border, you can get different colored borders, both black and like a whole assortment of borders, but just the standard Polaroid white comes with, the box comes with 20 shots in it, which is 2 packs, right? It only loads a thing of 10 in the camera itself. So 20 shots comes to about $15 retail. So that's about 75 cents a shot, just so you can understand like what you're investing in. Should you decide to try something like this out, you're looking at about 75 cents photo. So it's definitely not something that you like go nuts with. Like I made sure to have a very limited amount of cartridges with me, and this like when I'm done, I'm done. And then I had my digital Fujifilm X100V on me, so I'm like, if I still have the photography bug after I'm done with the Polaroid, I can like still do that, but I'm not just blowing money. I also try to save myself money by buying in bulk. So on Amazon, at least, they have a bulk option where it's 120 shots for $80, which amounts to 66 cents a shot. So you're saving what, 9 cents? Which granted is not like, 9 cents per shot. Yeah, so you're saving money. It's not like you're saving like a ton of money, but you're saving money. So definitely if you're somebody who is interested in getting into this, especially if you want to do it as a hobby, I would recommend buying in bulk. Obviously, if you want to use it sparingly and not as like street photography or photo shoots, you don't need to worry about that necessarily. It is a great thing just to bond with people and connect with people and see them smile. Like people like when they have a physical copy to hold in their hand and then like watch it develop and see like that's me like right there, and it's just like a very, very different feel, and it's a feel that most people seem to respond well to. So if it's something you want to like get to like take pictures on birthdays and parties and like, I don't know, holidays and stuff, I would definitely recommend it. It is one of the cheapest cameras in existence. Camera equipment is not cheap, and that's less than $100. But obviously the investment comes in dependent on how fast you're going to go through film and what kind of photography you're going to be doing with said film. But yeah, that is my real fast breakdown. I don't know if review is really the right word. I have to figure that out. I definitely didn't do an unboxing, which is what people normally do. And but I did talk about my experience, and then obviously I showed you my very first photo shoot. So I am also going to get one of those little albums. It's coming in the mail that I can just stick my Polaroids in to keep them safe and to have like them documented. And then I already scanned them. That was the other thing I want to tell you about really quick. The easiest approach that I've found, that I've also heard recommended on the internet, is to use the Notes app in your phone, at least if you have an iPhone. I don't know for the other brands of phone, so I apologize. And just go into the Notes app and then do scan document, and it picks these up super, super fast, and you get essentially the exact same resolution that's in front of you physically. So that I did that already, and it seemed to work super well. Obviously, if you have an additional light source like I do now, you have to make sure that when you're positioning the camera to scan the document, that it's not like producing a glare, because it will pick up that glare as part of the photo. It's just something to be aware of. But yeah, past that, super fast, super easy. So I have all these physical copies to love and adore, and then it took me literally 2 minutes, 3 minutes to have all of these same photos as a digital copy. They are very soft. They have a very set aesthetic. They are not the kind of photos that you're going to be putting in Lightroom or putting in Photoshop and then continuing to edit. Obviously, you can certainly try, but I don't think it's really going to do much. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed that, and I look forward to continuing to share my documenting journey with you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and you'll hear from me again soon. Bye.